Ever notice how some movies, they just kind of stay with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking sequels or like remakes, but you know that feeling you get like a movie just kind of got under your skin and stayed with you?
Yeah,
Years later, you're still thinking about it.
totally.
Well, get ready to revisit a swamp because today's deep dive is all about Shrek.
Ah, Shrek.
We're going to figure out why this 2001 animated adventure, it's so much more than meets the ogre eye, right?
Right.
You guys have sent us some really sharp analysis, by the way.
Yeah.
So we're going to unpack why Shrek isn't just a funny movie, but like a clever commentary
Yeah,
on fairy tales, pop culture, even ourselves.
absolutely.
So jump in here whenever you're ready.
What I think is so fascinating about Shrek is how it just throws out the fairy tale playbook. Like, we all grew up with these fairy tales, right?
Yeah.
And this is back when Disney kind of ruled the genre.
Oh, yeah.
Princesses and happily ever afters.
Right.
Shrek comes along and just flips those expectations on their head.
Okay, so instead of a handsome prince, we get, well, an ogre
An ogre.
with a bit of a hygiene problem.
Yeah, not exactly Prince Charming, is he?
Not quite, no.
Hmm.
How does Shrek, like, shake things up without, turning into a pumpkin at midnight?
Well, that's the brilliant part. Shrek's character arc, it's like the inverse of the typical hero's journey.
Okay.
He's not setting out to win the princess and, like, become this, like, better version of himself.
Right.
Shrek's quest, it's about him accepting who he already is.
I see.
A grumpy ogre who, likes his solitude, likes his mud baths.
That's a really good point. He's not trying to, like, change himself
Exactly.
for anybody,
No.
which is, that's kind of refreshing.
It's refreshing, right?
Right.
And if you think about Fiona, she's no damsel in distress either.
That's true.
Her whole ogre curse situation throws a wrench in that whole perfect princess image.
Right.
It has this layer of, like, complexity that you didn't really see in traditional fairy tales.
Yeah, it's like the movie is saying, hey, happily ever after is great and all.
Right.
But what about, like, before the kiss?
Exactly.
When things are messy?
Yes.
And speaking of messy, Lord Farquaad.
Ooh.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I know, right?
Talk about a villain with some serious insecurity.
He's like the epitome of every, like, power-hungry ruler you see in classic fairy tales. But Shrek takes his flaws and just exaggerates them to create this, like, satirical commentary.
Yeah.
It's like they took the stereotypical fairy tale villain and cranked it up to 11.
Which makes it hilarious.
It does.
And speaking of hilarious,
Okay.
we have to talk about the humor in Shrek.
Yes.
Because it's on a whole other level.
It is.
It works for kids.
Yes.
It works for adults, which is so hard to pull off.
So hard.
The source that you sent, it points out these different levels of humor.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes it so effective? What are we talking about here?
It's the way Shrek blends slapstick with satire and cultural references.
Okay.
So you've got your classic, like, fart jokes for the kids.
Right.
But then you have these really witty jabs at, like, pop culture and fairy tale conventions. That will just go completely over kids' heads.
Okay, give me an example. Like what kind of jokes are we talking about here?
Well, take the scene where the gingerbread man gets interrogated.
Okay.
Kids are going to laugh, like him losing his gumdrop buttons.
Right.
But adults, we're picking up on the parody of those, like, intense interrogation scenes you see in, like, crime dramas and stuff.
Oh, I see.
So it works on two totally different levels.
It's like the movie knows you're an adult.
You're right.
Sitting there.
Exactly.
And it's like giving you a little wink.
Totally.
Like, we get it. We're in on the joke, too.
Yes.
But even beyond the humor, the voice acting is just...
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Mike Myers as Shrek? Iconic.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to me because he could have just gone for, like, one-dimensional grumpy ogre.
Right.
But he brings this, like, vulnerability to Shrek.
Yeah.
You really feel for the guy, even when he's being, like,
Totally.
a grump.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
That's a great observation.
And you can't forget Eddie Murphy as Donkey.
Oh, my gosh.
Come on.
So good.
So good.
The comedic timing.
Yes.
The energy he brought to that role.
Unbelievable. Like, I can't imagine anybody else as Donkey. And then you've got Cameron Diaz as Fiona.
Yes.
She just perfectly captures that, like, tough.
Yes.
But, like, also tender, balanced. And plus, let's not forget Spanish dub.
Oh, yeah.
Which is considered one of the best.
It's so good.
Eugenio Derbez as Donkey.
Oh my God.
adds this whole other layer of humor
It's so good.
that resonated with
Yes.
Spanish-speaking audiences.
With a whole different...
It's amazing.
Inner.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It just highlights how important casting is
Absolutely.
to a film.
Especially in animation, where
Yeah,
it's their voices
yeah.
that are the characters.
Right, and they're creating this.
Yes, bringing them to life.
Yeah.
And in this case, they created like this truly iconic ensemble.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of iconic, can we talk about the animation?
Yes.
Because even today, I mean, this movie came out in 2001.
I know.
It still looks incredible.
It's amazing.
Which is amazing.
The way it's held up.
I know.
It's really a testament to the animators.
Absolutely.
DreamWorks really pushed the boundaries of
Yeah.
what computer animation could do.
Yeah.
The source I was looking at said that they created 36 unique locations for the film.
That's a lot.
That was a huge undertaking back then.
Especially back then.
Yeah. So, yeah, it adds to the richness of
They
the
really
world that they built.
Yeah, you feel like you're really stepping into
Yes.
this fairy tale world.
You are.
From like Shrek's swamp
Yes.
to like Lord Farquaad's ridiculously oversized castle.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
Extra
And,
detail.
oh my gosh, the facial expressions.
Oh, I know.
Like the way Shrek's brow furrows or Donkey's ears like perk up.
It's those little
Yes,
details
the detail.
that make it so good.
They convey so much emotion.
So much emotion.
It's no wonder it won an Oscar
Yes. You know,
for Best Animated Feature.
best animated feature. Absolutely.
It deserved it.
It did.
But beyond all of the technical achievements and things, I think one of the things that makes Shrek so enduring
Yes.
is its message of self-acceptance.
Yes.
Like Shrek is this big,
yes.
green.
He's an ogre.
Oh,
And he owns it.
he owned it.
He does.
It was amazing.
He doesn't try to be anything else.
Right.
He's comfortable in his own skin.
Exactly. And Fiona's, I mean, her whole thing mirrors that.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like she'd much rather be her true ogre self
Yes.
than like try to conform
Yeah.
to society's expectations of what a princess should be.
Exactly. She challenges that whole idea that beauty is about fitting into this mold.
Yeah.
She embraces her strength, her independence, her ogreness.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful statement about inner beauty
Yes.
trumping appearances.
And let's not forget Donkey.
Oh, dog.
He's like such a great
Which
example
was the best.
of embracing
Yes.
differences.
Totally.
Like he does not care
Doesn't bat an eye.
one bit
Nope.
about Shrek's appearance,
Just accepts him for who he is.
which is complete acceptance,
100%.
which I love.
And it's funny because it's played for laughs.
right?
But it actually underscores this really important point, which
Yeah.
is embracing diversity
Yes.
in all its forms.
Totally.
Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. It's
Right.
about who you are on the inside.
Yeah.
And that's what Donkey reminds us.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's amazing how Shrek manages to do all this
I know, right?
while still being like
It's amazing.
a hilarious family film.
A hilarious family film.
It's incredible. But speaking of Shrek's impact,
Yes.
we can't not talk about
Right.
the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Or I guess I should say the
ogre in the room.
ogre in the room. There we go.
There you go.
Shrek's second life as a meme.
The memes.
It's a meme.
Oh, the memes.
It's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
It's like the movie found a whole new generation
I know.
of fans
Through the internet.
through the internet.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, like, Shrek has transcended
It really has.
generations at this point.
Yeah.
Like, the humor, the characters, the lines,
So quotable.
they're so quotable.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Why do you think
That's amazing.
Shrek has resonated so much as a meme?
You know, I think it's that it has this perfect blend of relatability and absurdity.
Okay.
Like Shrek's facial expressions,
Yeah.
the situations the characters find themselves in,
Mhm.
like they're just ripe for comedic interpretation.
Yeah.
And because it's so quotable,
Yes.
people can use those memes to comment on, like
Right.
current events and pop culture.
It's like the shared cultural touchstone.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's like we can all relate to feeling like an outsider.
Yes.
Or wanting to, like, you know,
Break free from expectations.
break free from expectations.
Yes.
And Shrek just captures that
Totally.
in such a perfect way.
In a way that's both funny
Right.
and heartwarming.
Yes.
Yeah. you know?
Exactly.
Where
Stuart.
Shrek itself was challenging the status quo
There you go.
of fairy tales.
Well,
Like, it was a film that said, hey,
Yeah.
stories can be told differently.
Yeah.
Heroes can come in all shapes and sizes.
Right.
And happily ever after might look a little different than we imagine.
Than we imagine.
You know?
Which I think leads perfectly into, like, the question of,
Yes.
has Shrek changed how we see fairy tales?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right.
It is a good question.
Like, do we look at them differently now because of this
Yeah, I think so.
grumpy green ogre?
I think it definitely
It expanded
it expanded the genre.
what a fairy tale could be,
Yes, and it gave us permission to laugh at the conventions. Yes.
while also finding new meaning
Totally.
in these classic stories.
I love that.
Yeah,
And sometimes the biggest heroes are green and grumpy,
that's why.
fighting in a swamp.
Sometimes the best things come from unexpected places.
That's such a good point.
Right.
It's a good reminder that you should never judge a book or an ogre by its cover.
Well said.
Right.
Well said.
Well, this was so much fun.
This was fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for diving into the swamp of Shrek with me today.
Of course.
And until next time, remember,
Yes.
sometimes the most unlikely heroes
Yes.
have the most important stories to tell.